I want to be what I felt like other people were to me when I was in that situation, because I feel like I was thrown away and kind of just like, oh, she's going to be just like her mom. And kind
Mm-hmm.
of already had those preconceived notions on who I was going to be and who I wasn't. And I had this chip on my shoulder, like, I'm going to show you. And I don't know, that also was killing me. That overdrive, that chip. I felt
Yeah.
like I had to do like all these things and be so accomplished.
Yeah.
And so after I would accomplish one thing, I'm like, on to the next accomplishment. And I still was not fulfilled or satisfied. It didn't
Yeah.
matter if I had an Emmy
You-
Award. It didn't matter if I was a 4-time published author. It didn't matter if I had a Guinness Book of World Record. It didn't fucking matter. I was miserable
Right.
at my core.
You have something to prove always.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable, because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I am talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope that you are too.
My guest today is Karee Upendo, and I met Karee through Instagram. We met through Instagram, but I started following her on TikTok. Somebody sent me a link to a video on TikTok, and I was telling Karee that I am scared of TikTok because I'm old, and whenever I open up TikTok, something yells at me, and so I just close it up as quickly as I can. But I kept it open long enough to watch the video, and I messaged her 6 times, no, maybe 4 times, and then it cut me off, and I wasn't able to finish my message, and I was so mad. And then I looked her up on Instagram. So I've been following Karee on Instagram, and I messaged her on Instagram. And I said, please, please, please come on my podcast because I love your story. So Karee, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for reaching out to me and inviting me. Like, I like to talk to people not in person. So this is a yeah, I'm just normally out in the woods with my kids and my farm. So I normally don't get to really talk to anybody outside my family. Like I said, I don't know anybody in the city outside of the schools we go and volunteer at and the people we see. And I really don't have that connection. So I love doing this. It's amazing.
Yeah. So Karee lives in Georgia, but she is from Wisconsin. Or you had moved from Wisconsin anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so Karee was living in the city and teaching, and life sort of fell apart. And then they decided to move and start farming in Georgia. And I don't want to tell the story for her. It's a big hard story, but she has done some amazing things, and she has got we're making some plans. We're going to do some big stuff together, I think, because Karee is going to make some waves, and she's going to do some really she's going to teach some people some really cool stuff. So Karee, you said you were teaching in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a hard time with that.
Yeah. I'm autistic, and I don't think like most people. I stick out like a sore thumb. I always have. I transferred from 4 different high schools because I was so awkward until I finally got to an art school where I was able to thrive and be myself and write poetry. And I just, yeah, I'm just a little different. And I had a really hard time fitting in the workforce and bridging connections with people, genuine connections, and feeling a part of something. It was hard for me.
Yeah. And so, I had a thought. Oh, so you went to art school, and you said that you were a designer also?
I worked as a designer for 12 years. My grandmother taught me how to sew when I was 6 and a half. And when I was 21, I started a company called Karee where I make like French couture, like gowns and wedding dresses and like really, really wild different designs.
Awesome.
I went all the way to New York Fashion Week. I got to be on
Oh my gosh.
what was that guy? I'm such a horrible person. What is his name? Harry Connick Jr. show, and I was on there with Naomi Campbell.
Oh my gosh.
I've had her work published in like GQ magazine, so I've done some really fun and things. Yeah, sewing took me a lot of places, and it was awesome. And then I did some plus size modeling. I got to do that, and that was cool. And then I got tired of that. I do like hyperfixation, so I like go through phases and try to like learn different things, and I get sick of it, and I want to move on to the next thing.
That's
I just feel
awesome.
like we get so like bottled in life and told that we need to like focus on one thing, and I've never done that. I get bored quickly. I like to like indulge in learn lots of things until I feel like I'm an expert, and then I want to go on to the next thing. When I
But
die,
look
I
at all
want
those
like
things that you can do. Seriously. I
that's
mean,
just
and
like
look
I'm
at how
gonna
well
go
that
into
worked out for you. Because you were saying,
yeah.
I mean, you were telling me before we started recording that you had lost your job and you were able to like make dresses and make all these things
Yeah.
for people. And you wouldn't have been able to do that if you hadn't learned that skill.
I literally wasn't. I literally was so broke when I got married to my husband 10 years ago. I made my own wedding dress. Yeah, so I mean, I've always figured out a way to have the things without having the money for the things. Um, I'm really resourceful in that type of way. My grandmother taught me how to be like that. And so big ups to her for real because she was the GOAT. um, yeah,
Shout out to grandmothers.
yeah, for
Love
sure.
grandmothers.
Yeah,
That's
the best.
awesome. And so Karee was saying that she started working at 9 years old. You've been
Yep,
working
I've been
since you
working
were 9
for
years old.
first job was a paper route. I had a 2 mile paper route. And then my second job, I was 10 and a half. My grandparents had a janitorial business called Gibson Enterprises. We would wake up in the morning and go to the library at 3 a.m. My papa would wake us up, and I had 150 cubicles to clean. And then we would get home and get back on the bus at 6:40 to get ready for school. He would make us a big breakfast. We'd have my papa's from the South, so he knows how to cook. He'd have smothered chicken, homemade apple butter, fried potatoes, and onions and biscuits and fresh honey. Like it was a thing.
You cleaned
I just,
150 cubicles in like 2.5 hours?
yes, me and my brother, we split them in half. And my grandfather, he started his own business with a mop and a broom. And so he worked himself up and he was getting government contracts by the time he retired. He had some of the largest government contracts in Madison, government contracts. So I was really proud of him for doing that. Yeah, he was a really hard worker. And back in those times, he used to make his own cleaning solutions. We'd be at home mixing homemade solutions with his vinegar. He knew how to like go to like thrift stores and take apart like vacuum cleaners and rebuild them for his little janitor's closets that he had in his buildings. So like he was just amazing like that. He knew how to like tinker with all like the little things and fix things.
Man.
My grandfather was amazing. My papa would go to all the homeless shelters in Madison, and he would give out job applications, and they would talk about him, and they would say, Donald, you hiring those untrustworthy people, and my papa would give chance after chance. Even people would come in and they'd steal money out of like people's cubes or take little things out of the desk, and my papa would always back them. Like I always remember. I think that's where I got my like sense of community because my papa, he did not care. He always stood by his community. Like he did not care about being talked about. He didn't care that he was known as the one who would give somebody a job that needed it. And I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I don't give up on people. And I'm able to, like, I don't know, I just see people, I see the good in people. And I know that's a bad thing too, because sometimes being autistic, I miss like cues of like, oh, that's not probably a good person. But I don't know, I see the good in people. I do.
Yeah.
And he always seen the good in people. And I just felt like I was raised on love.
That's amazing. Lucky you. And so now in Georgia, you are farming with your husband, and you've got 4 kids, but one of them is not old enough to be farming. Your youngest is just 1. But so you have alpacas and you have chickens as well, right?
Yep, chickens, ducks, alpacas, and bees, and we raise monarch butterflies too.
Oh my gosh. You raise monarch butterflies?
Yeah, we get them every September. We have like we planted like a half an acre of milkweeds. And then we have just like a migration station, like
the way
an
station
area where they can migrate through, and the kids can watch them grow and develop, and yeah.
Nice.
Nerdy stuff.
That's awesome. Hey, I mean, you're homeschooling, right? Are you homeschooling?
Yeah.
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 Of course you are. You're a teacher. But so, and so so your big seller with the farm is alpaca poop, but you call it magic beans.
Yeah, magic beans.
And what are people doing with the alpaca poop? They're using it as fertilizer?
Yep, they're using it as fertilizer. Some people are doing it as compost, but they're just making it like an alpaca doodle tea. They're taking the bags and putting it in like 10 gallons of water. And so like one bag makes about 8 to 10 gallons of fertilizer. And you just let it sit for like 24 hours, and all the nutrients is in that water, and you use that water to, fertilize your plants or do whatever you want to, start your seedlings. Yeah, even
Awesome.
house plants. People use it for house plants.
Awesome. That's very cool. How many alpacas do you have?
4.
Wow, that's a lot. Do you have to like shear them and stuff?
Yep, we got to shear them and cut their feet every year. We do it every like March, April, because it gets hot here in Georgia, and so they can't have all that fur. They will literally not be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like spin the wool and do stuff with that?
No,
or?
I send it up to a fiber mill. I don't got time for that. I tried that, and the hair
Not
was
yet.
everywhere. Hair was everywhere. I said, no, I'm never doing this shit again. Yeah, so we just send it off to a fiber mill. We even we do alpaca fiber balls. We make drying balls here as a product.
Awesome.
We sell bird nesting balls, so to help birds in the wintertime get nesting materials. And yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. And one of the things, so alpaca poop is one of the things, but so you have lots of things to talk about, to teach people. And you're super, super passionate, which I'm so all about. You were talking about teaching about gardening and food, teaching about healthy food and where food comes from. And because you grew up not having that knowledge. Well, you grew up with your grandparents doing that though, right? You grew up farming.
Yeah, I aged out of the system. I was 16 when I aged out. I was in kinship care, so it's pretty much like it's a program where pretty much like a relative temporarily like adopts you or fosters you. And then my grandmother got sick, and she had to move back to Racine, and I was still in my junior year, and I was like, I don't want to go to a city where I don't know anyone. I just need to finish where I'm at here. And I've been working since I was 9. I already had been working. I was working 40 hours a week at the time. I was my scholarship was secured for college. I was good. And so I had the choice to either go back to stay with my mother, who I had been separated from since I was 7. I didn't know anything really about her. I was angry at her. There's a lot of anger. And so I didn't think it was going to be the best thing for me to do. My brother at the time, he's 3 years younger than me. He didn't have a choice. The judge sent him to go back with her since she was sober. And so he was able to foster and build that relationship then. I'm able to do that now. I've been doing that now as an adult. Now that I'm able to like separate myself from being her child and seeing her for what she was, an autistic Black woman who was undiagnosed and had a lot of mental health issues and wasn't able to get the help that I've been able to get and my kids have been able to get on spectrum. My oldest son was diagnosed at 3, and my second child was diagnosed at 3, and so they've been getting help and the things that they've needed, and I wish my mom would have been able to get those things that didn't happen for her. And unfortunately, living with autism and trying to be overstimulated and trying to mask, I think it was too much for her. And she turned to alcohol. And so, I was just angry at the world. I wanted a mom and dad growing up, regardless if I had my grandparents. You still always want that, your parents. Sure. And I think the most traumatizing part was being removed from the house, because it'd have been different if I started with my grandparents, but I was living with my mom and being taken out of the home at 7, that it changes something in you mentally.
Sure.
And so,
for sure.
Yeah. And so, I ended up homeless, teen, diagnosed with an illness that I knew nothing about, and going into parenthood and not having any guidance or anyone around. And so I felt really embarrassed and shamed and felt like I let my grandparents down, and I just mentally couldn't handle it. That was hard. It was really difficult. I was a baby having a baby with no stable home to stay, and a lot of systems that were in place were able to help me. We went to food shelters. I stayed at a shelter, and a lot of older women in those shelters helped me. And so when I got into a position to be able to help, that's what I did. I dug back into community. That's why I always stay with volunteer work and community, because I just feel that's where I feel safe at. I want to be what I felt like other people were to me when I was in that situation, because I felt like I was thrown away and kind of just like, oh, she's going to be just like her mom. And kind of already had those preconceived notions on who I was going to be and who I wasn't. And I had this chip on my shoulder, like, I'm going to show you. And I don't know, that also was killing me. That overdrive, that chip. I felt like I had to do like all these things and be so accomplished. And so after I would accomplish one thing, I'm like, on to the next accomplishment. And I still was not fulfilled or satisfied. It didn't matter if I had an Emmy award. It didn't matter if I was a 4-time published author. It didn't matter if I had a Guinness Book of World Record. It didn't fucking matter. I was miserable at my core.
You have something to prove always. Yeah.
Exactly. Always. And it wasn't enough, because internally I didn't feel like I was enough. So I had all these things, all these awards. See, look, I'm worth something. And inside I didn't feel like shit. And so I had to fix it. I had to start with me. And I'm still working on me. I'm still working.
Samesies, girl.
Yeah.
But look at you now. Look at where you're at. But so one of the things that we wanted to talk about, or that I wanted to talk about, that you had mentioned, is that so you were a teenager raising a child. You were living in a car, but like you have come to this place where so you were saying, like, when you were teaching, this is one, I'm like losing my train of thought. But so when you were teaching, you said that kids did not know like where their food came from. And it just like comes in a plastic bag at the store, right? It just, that's where it grows. And it just appears in places. But, and so it's something that you've always felt passionate about, making sure that people know where their food comes from and the value of that. So,
I feel like if you experience growing food, you really haven't experienced food. And so you've taken a bite of something that you've nurtured from seed and waited 6 weeks to see a seedling, and then had to prune for several weeks and fight bugs and go out there and water in the hot ass sun every day. And then you finally get to taste what you made, and it tastes nothing like you've ever had in any grocery store. I don't think you've really lived. Just being honest.
Yeah. You said it was like a spiritual experience, right? Because
you literally have a spiritual connection with the earth. When
spiritual connection.
Outside gardening, and you're just seeing how all the things work. I see my bees flying over me and pollinating and helping me grow my plants. And it's just like all the different things are working together. And it's just like, damn, this would be beautiful if we did the same thing.
Right. Nature's a
Why can't
beautiful
we
dance.
operate like nature?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So do you have plans to do something like that? To do something with that?
Yeah. So we've already started. Like we have relationships with all the surrounding schools. We go in and we teach farming education classes and show them difference of emu eggs and show them how apiculture and beekeeping. I grew up, I never seen Black women in farming. I never seen us except represented in books. They were always showing us sharecropping and cotton and
Right.
slavery. They never
It's the
showed
same
Black
thing.
women
It's the
beekeeping.
same thing.
I've never seen a Black woman beekeeper in my life. And so
Right.
now I look at my pink bee suit and my boots and I show them what a Black beekeeper looks like. And they're able to see themselves through me because they say, damn, she's a Black beekeeper. And then they're able to say, well, I want to be a beekeeper. And that's why I show up, because I didn't see those things represented. So I felt like I could never do that. It's because I thought we couldn't do it because I never seen us do it.
Yep.
And so I just want to be a trailblazer and make it easier for the little girls behind me who want to be in agriculture and who want to be doing all these things. And they feel like, well, I'm too scared to go to that bee association meeting because everybody is middle-aged white men and I'm the only Black girl. I want to see more of us in these spaces. And that's why I show up to show, man, bees are cool as fuck. You don't gotta be running from bees. The asshole bees are wasps and hornets, not honeybees. I promise you, if you ever got stung, it probably was not by honey. And so those are the type of things I try to show up and tell and talk about our native pollinators. And yeah, I want it to be cool and interesting. I grew up under Bill Nye the Science Guy, okay? I grew up under Crocodile Hunter. I grew up watching people in nature having fun and living their best life and making it funny. It was literal edutainment. And that's how I try to show up on the internet. I want it to be fun. I want it to be educational. I want you to laugh though too. I want to be silly. I want to show up. I want you to be organically learning to where it doesn't feel like you're learning. So you're gonna go outside and be like, damn, I know about these woodbuggers because I seen this girl talking about it on Instagram. And now you can go make some miso soup with your friends. You know,
Heck yeah.
I want it to be like that. I feel like when we learn in a way that's not feel like we're being taught something, it's easier to digest and learn because you're just like, it's funny. This is a funny video. But when you leave, you're going to know how to identify a beauty berry because you watch this video. That's what I want. That's all I want.
Juggling work, family, and finances? Coach Connor's got your back. Say goodbye to uncertainty and overwhelm. Get personalized guidance to conquer time constraints and financial worries. Take the first step toward the relationship you want with money. Connect with Coach Connor at Progress Solutions today. There's contact info for Coach Connor in the show notes. Make sure to check that out, okay?
And so you learned about a lot of this stuff on like TV, you said, with Bill Nye the Science Guy, or is it, or you're learning about it through Google and YouTube?
No. My grandmother was an herbalist. She was an herbalist. My grandmother was sick. She was diagnosed with meningitis, and she spent 4 years of her life at Mayo Clinic. And they gave her a less than 3% of survival. She had a shunt in her head. It was a whole thing. And my grandmother turned to medicine because man told her she would never walk again. She'd never have her taste, sight, or smell again. And she was like, you're wrong. And in 18 months, she walked into her doctor's office, and her doctor was like, how did you get here? She was like, I walked. My grandmother was so strong in that way. I grew up helping my grandmother make pills. She would make us drink cod liver oil before school. She was the kooky lady. But now in today, she'd be that girl. She'd be the it girl. Back then, you did herbal remedies and herbal medicine, and you got us outside foraging for gallons of dandelions. You were a weirdo. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, I'm so thankful because it's like she knew what it was back then, but she was searching and finding her way because she had an illness. And I hate that about us. I hate that we always have to search and seek other options when we get sick. Mm-hmm. Or something happens devastating, and then it's like, oh, we want to look up soursop and how to rid our body of these illnesses, and we turn to nature after we've already experienced Western medicine and it's not working for us. And I hate that for us. Yeah,
right. Once medicine has failed us, we have to search for other options, right? Then we search for nature. Then we turn to nature. And yeah, I mean, and there's also like, with herbs and stuff, we should be maintaining with that and being proactive as opposed to waiting until after everything else has failed. But, the generational things. I've talked about it before, and I know we've talked about it, just that where the system is messed up. It's just messed up.
It is.
You take these medications.
Literally,
It's just pushed on you. Yeah. But so foraging. Foraging was another thing that you wanted to talk about. So foraging is another thing that you with like kids and stuff, you were saying you wanted to definitely talk about.
Yeah, I love foraging. I feel like a lot of us we want to garden and we're interested in gardening, or we tried our hand at gardening and it didn't work and you gave up. And I feel like foraging is, to me, it's easier than gardening, because when I go outside and I look outside, to me it's a grocery store. Like I look outside and I'm like, oh, I can eat that, or I can't eat that. And I feel like if we taught kids, like my son Asher, he knows how to identify over 50 wild edibles just because he sees us eat it. And so just like a child is able to identify an apple or a banana in the store, he's able to identify these same things out in the yard. It's no different. It's food to him. I want us to be able to identify the same things. Like, why aren't we? We got, a lot of us have food in our backyard that we can tap into, make jellies, preservatives, meat substitutes. It's so much. And I'm just like, why aren't we tapped in? What's going on?
Yeah. How did you learn to identify those things? Was it just...
I grew up in the 90s, so we was eating those things inadvertently anyways. We was outside. You had to go outside and break out the hose. We was foraging on our bikes for mulberries. We was grabbing bushels of mulberries before we even knew they were mulberries, eating berries. We shouldn't be eating nothing. We was eating crab apples, cutting up open crab apples. My grandparents had rhubarb and onions and alien vanilla. We had dandelions. We had all the things. And most people who grew up in the 90s, when they talk about it, and we say, oh, remember when you played house outside and you was eating that grass that tasted like a wild onion? That was alien vanilla. It really wasn't a wild onion. We call them wild onions, but we've been doing this. Like, a lot of us have been already doing that. Like, yeah, I used to eat dandelions. My grandma used to fry up dandelions and fritters. Like, girls, that was foraging. Like, a lot of us have been foraging and just don't realize it, or have been taught things that we can eat in our yard from our grandparents because they knew, because their parents told us. And so I already had that naturally, and I just expanded it by literature and my mutuals, seeing what other people are growing in their regions and what they're finding. And I get hyper fixated on stuff. So I just digest information. And I'm like, I want to know everything. I want to know about every tree. What I want to know about every mushroom I can eat. It's an obsession. It's really a sickness.
it's really a sickness. It's not a sickness, Karee. It's really like you're just so far advanced. And we just need to catch up with you. It's beautiful. I mean, there are so many things that you can just do so much. And because you hyperfixate, and that's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's great that you can do all these things. And what a gift you are to your family and to your community. So I just wanted to kind of tie this all together a little bit. So sustainability, this is, I mean, these are all sustainable things that you're doing, just like making do with what you have and using what's around you, and making things instead of buying things. And you were saying that you, another thing that you had said off the air was, oh my gosh, you when you moved here, you had to stop having your hair done, and you learned how to do your own hair.
That's a big thing in our community. Our hair is a big thing. I have 4C hair texture. I didn't know how to do my own hair, and I was a grown ass woman. I have autism. A lot of us with autism are tenderheaded. I still cry as my big age will slide down a hairdresser's seat at a salon. I used to have my hairdresser, shout out to Payne, I love you, for taking care of me for 10 plus years. He would take me in his back room and take my appointments early just so I didn't have to be in the open area with all the rest of the people, because I would cry. At my big age, I know.
When you had to learn how to do your own hair, and that you said that saved you like 300 and...
Yeah, I was paying $300 to get my hair done. And then I would always tip him. I'm a big tipper. So I would be spending $400 to get my hair done. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But now you do it on your own. That's amazing. But so that, that's another thing that is just, everyone can't do that. Obviously it's, I'm not coordinated like that. I tried to cut my hair and it was not nice. But, I think that those are all amazing. Those are such great things that you can do. And you and I have very, very similar ideas about sustainability in that you were saying it doesn't have to be like this huge thing. You could just, like you were saying, when you're eating oranges, just instead of throwing the orange peels in the trash, just put them in the compost and, stuff like that. Like it's just putting it in a different place and then, just adding on to that. And, it all just adds up. It doesn't have to be these huge things.
Making eggs, put the eggshells in your plants or throw them outside. Like, it's just the small little things. Seeing how much trash, look at your trash, how much waste are you're having in your home. And then when you get to the grocery store, maybe buy a few things that are in glass versus plastic. Just the small little things. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. It really doesn't. Just small little things that you see that you're going to eventually just keep doing. And then those small things turn into big things. And then you realize, oh, I got a huge compost pile now. I can use this soil and I can grow some vegetables. And now your food waste is going towards your homestead, or even if you don't have a homestead, your apartment garden. I teach how to grow in all these bags on your roof. If you don't even have land, I teach you how to grow on your roof. Like, I teach you try to grow with whatever you have, even if you just have a windowsill. I can teach you how to regrow your green onions from the grocery store. You can regrow those, put them in a cup in some water and put them in a north-facing window. Like, it's the small little things. It's just a small thing.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I wish I lived closer to you because I would love to just watch you do this and learn so much from you. But so on that note of sustainability, when I say the word sustainability, Karee, what does that mean? What does that mean specifically to you?
It means community. It means a collective. It means together. It means unity, one for everybody. It means space and a spot for every person, for every little wheel makes the bigger wheel move. It means all of us. It means together. It means we help each other. We build. We don't step on each other's neck. We build together. Yeah.
So it's more than just taking care of the earth. It's taking care of each other. And so, but like,
as a whole, period. Looking out.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so
if you don't have the land, if you don't have the animals, there's things you can be doing now. You have a skill. I promise to God you do. There's something that you're doing that you don't even realize that you're doing that somebody literally can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And you can offer that, do bartering services with your friends who also have those different abilities. You can have a small group of bartering amongst your friends. Like, your friend might do sewing. You might knit. Do something small and trade off and see, hey, I normally pay a cleaner every week to come, but you clean, your friend clean. Support them.
Yep.
Your friend bakes cakes. Why are you going to the bakery when your friend bakes cakes every week? It's that type of shit. Stop going outside of your community and look within who's in your community already and support. I don't know. That's just how I feel. We don't have to struggle. We really don't have to struggle like we do. We don't.
I hear that 100%. Oh my gosh. So, if people are, they want more of you, people are going to be like, I got to find this Karee person. How can people find you and get more of you? How can they find you?
I'll be on TikTok. I'll be on TikTok and Instagram. That's where I'm at. I'm trying YouTube, but I'm recording on my phone. I got a phone from 2017. And so I'm trying my bestest. I'm trying my best.
Okay. But your account it's Upendo Estates?
Yep. Upendo Estates.
Upendo Estates.
Upendo means love in Swahili. That's why we named our farm Upendo Estates Farm, like the love farm. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Oh wow. Oh wow, this has been awesome. I love this so much. Karee, this is not the last that we're gonna see of each other. I promise you, I'm going to reach out. We're going to do something more. But I hope that everyone has enjoyed this. I thank you so much for hanging out with.
I just want to take a moment and thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting this podcast. for Jane Bolduc and her amazing music genius, for Becca Coffron and her beautiful artwork. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Please check out the show notes. I'm going to have links posted in there if you would like to follow this guest and learn more about them. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, get there from here, 'cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness, we'll heal the hate, with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. When that state of grace has finally found me, well, there'll be music, and good friends around me, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder,